Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've managed to sneak out into the workshop to start printing these valve carriers and valves. So we'll just start these off. So the printer's just loading. Now the build plate's going down. Right, so that'll print those 4 objects. We'll get back to you when it's printed. Right, so the printing's finished. I'll just get them out, show you. Right, so there's the bits off the build plate. What I'll do is I'll just take the supports and the bases off. Right, so here they are off the bases and the supports. That's the valve carrier for the low pressure. That'll be the valve for the low pressure. There's the recess for the steam, so when that's sliding across the slots in the steam chest, that directs the steam through the slots, either from one stroke to the other, moving like this. I've allowed for a little bit of machining, so they won't fit together properly yet. When they're cast, I've allowed for a little bit of machining, and that'll be in the steam chest like so. And in that slot there'll be a spring which should hold that down tight against the plate where the slots are. I'll put them out in the sun to cure a little bit harder, and then I'll start the printing of the keyrings. Now I'm just about to start printing the keyrings. So the build plate's lowering down, and then we'll leave that till it's printed, and I'll show you later on. So my keyrings are finished printing. I'll get those off the build plate. So there is the keyrings ready for casting. But this part here, the valve carrier, I'm going to try casting one like that. But if it doesn't work, I'll redo the 3D model and leave out that square hole in the middle. And then I'll machine that later on. Right, I'm just going to make the sand mold for this valve carrier. We'll try that. If it don't work, I'll probably do the, as I said, I'll probably do the 3D model without that hole in it. So let's get going. Oops. I just cleaned the board up. Right, you can see I've gone round the outside of that. I forgot that that is a bit higher there and it was in the sand a bit too deep. So I've gone all the way around the edge and cleared the edges and in the middle. So now I can put me little bit of powder on there. Stops the other half from sticking. Yeah, just give that a blow off. Right, stick that bit on. Fill this half up. Right, I'll just clean. Oh, let's clean that off first. Right, I'll just clean the board up. Right, now we can split this. Gently. Some of the sand broke off there, look, but I think we can manage that. Just means a little bit more machining in the middle. And now what I'll do is I'll just cut that. That'll be where the metal's going to be tipped in. Same on this one. Push that down hard. Right, now we've got to get that bit out. I'll just find some sharp little things to hook in the end there a minute. Right, I'm going to try and get that out now, carefully. Come on now. Yeah, looks like the squares broke out. Anyway, that's alright. That'll fill up. that'll fill up with metal anyway, so I'll have to machine that out anyway. I can live with that. Right, so we can put that together. Let's just give that a brush off in there, make sure there's no loose stuff going to come off of there. Now that's solid. Put that together. I've got to clamp. Give me 2 little bits of plywood. Right, that's ready for casting. Right, so I've got the little crucible heating up, melting some bronze. Just got to wait for that to get the temperature. The metal's up to temperature. Let's get ready to pour it now. Right, that's cooled down a little bit. I'll get that out of the mould now. Well, that's one valve carrier. Where the middle come out, look, I've got a little bit more machining in the middle, but that's no hardship. Right, what I do is cast the actual valve now. I don't think you need to see me do the moulding. Right, you'll see I've reprinted the valves. I did try and make a sand mould. That gap is a little bit too thick, so I've reprinted it without the spring slot in it. I'll machine that later. So I'll just get on and make a mould for that. You don't need to see that. So I'll do that. Once I've got that cast, I'll get back to you. Right, so that's the valve mould ready for casting. Right, I got the little furnace heating up so I can cast the valve for the valve carrier that I've cast, just waiting for that to get a temperature. And I've made another mould for the high pressure valve carrier, which hopefully I can pour both little moulds at the same time now. Right, this is one of the key rings that I'm going to make. Just clean the board up. Right, I'll just clean the board up. Right, now we can split this. And where the brass, I've changed the crucible in the heater with some brass in it. Just brush that off. There we are. Right, now we've got to get that out. I'll give that a tap with something first. Right, just keep your fingers crossed. No, I'll have to redo that. I'm not happy with that. Right, that's the 3 keyrings cast. And that's the valve carriers and valves cast. They need a little bit of cleaning up. But hey, I can live with that. Then what I'll do is I'll clean these up, polish them up, put the enamel in there. They look nice. So there's the keyring cleaned up, ready for enameling in there. So I'll just get the powder out. Right, this is a little tea light oven. There's 3 tea lights under there. So you light that, let that heat up, and you place your little thing on there with the powder on. So there's the keyring. This is the powder. I'll use the red. What we got is a lid which has got a little sieve on it. So we'll take one of those out. The mesh. Right, so I've got the little mesh in there. Let's take the top off of that. Put the mesh on there. And you just sprinkle it on. Right, put that aside. Obviously I'm going to polish that up again in a minute. Just like your tea lights. Right, we'll just preheat that. And I might be able to just sweep that off with my thumb. There we are. A little bit. Right, when that's warmed up a bit, it don't take long. Right. So we'll carefully lift that up. Place that in there. Three minutes. Right, that's been 3 minutes. Let's have a look. Look at that, lovely. Let's blow the candles out. I'll let that cool down and then I'll give that another polish up. So there we are. Printed pattern, cast with enamelled, and I'll stick that on a key ring. There we are, 1 key ring. Lovely. Right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the spring, the 1/8 slot through the middle of there. I've been round the corners, you didn't really need to see that. The slot I'm going to do now is the spring slot, which will hold the valve against the plate in the steam chest between that plate and the head. So let's get this done. That'll be the last cut, I reckon, how to do that. Just getting used to the power feed. Beautiful. Right. This being the bigger one is the low pressure valve. Right, I'm just going to hollow out the valve carrier for the low pressure valve. Just take me time on that. I'm going to leave a bit of material in there so I can file it out for a good fit. I think we're nearly there. Also, I'm leaving more material in there so I don't machine into the parallels. That's it. How to do. Right, I'll just duck that out. Right, so you can see I've left a bit of material in there because I want to file that to fit. It's not much, it's just that I don't want that rattling around like it's in a bucket, because all you want really is to slide that on, and then it's loose enough that the spring you're going to put in there is going to push that down to the plate on the top of the cylinder with a spring. Right, so I just file that up. Right, so I filed these to fit nicely. Look, it's just a nice sliding fit. That way when the valve is moving, it's actually pushing the valve and no slop there. You don't want that, because that's got to cover, that little groove there has got to cover the 2 slots at a time and then move over to the other 2. If it was too sloppy, you'd be a hell of a problem, wouldn't you? Right. Next thing I got to do on this one is a 2BA thread in there, which I'll set up and do that. That'll be for the valve rod. Right. Just change the drill. Right, I'll just get the tap. There we are. I did start that off with the chuck, with the tap in the chuck, and I forgot to start the video. But that is the 2BA hole tap, which will be screwing then on the end of the valve rod. Beautiful. Right. I'll just get on and machine these other 2. That's the high pressure valve and valve carrier, and then I'll get back to you and we'll try that in the cylinder steam chest. Right, so there we've got the high pressure valve and valve carrier and the low pressure valve and valve carrier. What I'll do, I've got a couple of rods what I jigged up to make sure that the waste shaft bracket's in the right place. What I'll do is I'll put a thread on the end of one of those and we'll have a look at how it works. Right, as you can see, I've got the steam chest off. Just to recap what these slots are for. The steam comes up from the boiler into the high pressure chamber for this piston. Now the valve is covering these 2 slots here, so the steam will go down in there, push the piston this way, and any steam that will be in there is now being exhausted from here over that little loop here into this hole, and then it will be exhausted into the lower pressure chamber, and then you've got the other valve, where is it, doing the same thing. So with the timing, the steam would go down one, push the piston that way, exhausting through here, down to here, and then that will be going down through the cylinder and out through the back of the cylinder through a pipe up the chimney. I mean, without the valves, if I put that back on and the steam was just going in there with no valves in it, the steam would be trying to get to both ends of the pistons and you'd have no movement. So I'll just get the, see, these are the rods. I got another one there with a thread on. I'll use these to jig up the waste shaft bracket so they move nicely in there. Right, so I'll just get one of these valves in and then I'll try and move the camera to look down in there. Right, I got one of the valves on. The rod I got it screwed on is not the right valve. Right, so hopefully when I move that, you can see that slot there. And when I move that there, you can see that slot there. I am moving it a bit more than what I should, just for the purpose of showing you the slot. Right, so if that slot's open there, I'll just zoom in a little bit. If that slot's open there, so the steam that would be in this side would be going down in there, pushing the piston this way, and any steam that was in this side is now being exhausted through that middle slot, which is going through this channel on the bottom of the valve. So the valve, the exhausted steam then will be coming into this low pressure chamber through that hole, and then the process starts again in the low pressure. And then from the exhausted area there, which is that middle slot, there is a hole then, so when the steam comes out the piston through there, there's a hole goes between the two cylinders out the back of the cylinder, and then there's a hole in the bottom of the chimney, which then the steam goes up there. So now when, with the movement of the crankshaft and the timing, then the valve, then the piston is exhausting, and now the piston is moving the other way. The steam's going down in that slot there, and that side is exhausting, and it goes on and on then as long as the movement. So it, boom, boom, boom. So good. So that is the valve carriers done. And that slot there, there'll be a spring bent in a U on the drawer, and and then that would be, when you put the head on, the spring would be between that and this valve, pushing the valve down tight against the plate. So there we are. Here's those key rings I did. That's from the printing for the pattern, and then the casting and the enameling. I mean, that's very easy to do, done with tea lights. Anyway, thank you everyone for being patient. My knee is on the mend. I can't stand too long. Good job I got a stool in the workshop. So yes, thank you for that. Please subscribe to my channel and join me as I build a 2-inch scale Fowler Showmans Traction Engine.